message, Thelma.
Thank you.
Beautiful. I mean, it was just a really good reminder. I'm leaning towards you so that the
Oh, you're leaning to me because you love me.
mic. I mean, this was just a really good reminder of us to really hone in on our spiritual boundaries. You know, where we're at in my own I amness, my unique relationship with the whole, and the realization for the need for us to have the daily, you know, not just the disciplined practice, like you're saying, our
Mhm.
spiritual practice, morning, you know, like yourself, I'm like morning, noon, and night, I'm in my treatment. But the key is what am I identifying with, even when I'm doing the dishes? You know,
Mhm.
am I allowing any congestedness from the outer objective field to hinder my own I amness? You know, where am I at in that? You know, and that's, I mean, we continually got, I mean, that's the dance we're here to do.
Uh-huh.
And it's to continually hone in on where am I at in this thing I'm calling life. And the realization, a reminder that all the power, you know, resides in the kingdom of heaven within me. You know, nothing outside of myself. But it really is the whole self-care. What was coming up to me was the when you're on the airplane and you got to put your own oxygen mask on first, you
Mhm.
know, how can I give what I don't have?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if I'm gasping for breath, how am I going to be able to say? Well, there's no one to say,
Yeah, right.
but self. If we'll just,
Mhm.
and that's the key of this whole illusional dance we're giving ourselves is to just really stay focused on self, and the outer relationships will start mirroring my wholeness.
Yeah.
And that's where we're moving in life. So
Mhm.
great, beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad you got all that
Thank you.
from what I said.
Mm.
Well, thank you, Thelma, um, for what you shared and brought to our attention. And, you know, something that I've known for a long time, it's one of the things you were saying is, you know, everything, like with the vacuuming, you know, everything has positive and negative potential. It's just
Mhm.
all in how I choose to look at it.
Right.
You know, I may have had a really good meal, which was positive for me, but it wasn't positive for that plant or that animal that I had to kill in order to eat it. So I could just, beat myself up about killing plants and animals and starve to death, or I can be thankful for the gift that those plants and animals give me and that I can continue to live. And
Mhm.
it's all in what I choose to look at it, and then, you know, as you were talking, I realized that every time I've had a conflict with somebody, every time without exception, it's because I'm trying to change or control something about them instead of learning how to respond to them by changing or controlling me. And I don't want to control or change me. I want them to change. I want
Right.
to control them. And so that's when we have the conflicts, and
Mhm.
you know, when I was first married, I there wasn't anything that I was trying to change about my wife, and it wasn't anything that she was trying to change about me. We were just able to accept each other where we were. Then, as we had kids, and there were all kinds of things that um, she or I was trying to change about the other person. And then the more I try to change her, the more conflict there is, or the more I refuse to change what she wants me to change, because that's not who I want to be,
Mhm.
then we have conflict. And um, it's just, you know, it's just very interesting. And and then you were talking about, answering the call in the middle of the night. When I was in college, you know, many moons ago, I had a roommate, and the phone would ring, and I would be, saying, "It's your turn to answer the phone." He said, "I don't feel like answering it." And you got to answer the phone. I don't feel like it. If it's important, they'll call me back.
Yeah.
And so I grew up in a home that you rush to the phone, and so I would rush, and it would oftentimes be his mother wanting to know what time he was going to come by to, you know, have dinner or whatever. And, you know, I used to resent that he wouldn't answer the phone, but it taught me to learn how to not answer the phone too. And I would just said, because this is back before we had answering machines.
Yeah.
It wasn't when you had to crank the phone to talk, it was after
Right.
that.
Yeah, I remember those too.
And but just trusting. And so now when I tell people, you can call me if you have a problem, call me. And if I'm available, I'll pick up. And if I don't pick up, it's because I'm not available. And sometimes they call because I'm in the middle of a meeting, and sometimes they call because I'm in the middle of just being with myself and I'm not ready to do that.
Mhm.
And so I just don't respond to the text or pick up the call, because that's how I choose to honor myself, because I'm going through something or thinking about something or wanting to do something that is important for me. And and then I'm okay with it, because I tell them I'm not a 24-hour hotline, you know, but I will get back to you. And I do want you to call me when you need me. Just know that you have to wait until I'm ready to respond.
Yeah.
Hi, it's Madeline. I'm way over here, but I'm
Come on
in the
over.
corner. Um, hi,
Are you
everybody.
being punished in the corner?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just did, the sofa is not big enough for three. But I had a yoga teacher. He told the story about playing backgammon with his sister, and she wanted him to come over right then and there to play the backgammon. And he said, I was so tired. I had just had a full day of yoga classes and different things like that. He said, and I told her I'd be over as soon as I could. And he took time to be with himself and um, eat and take a little bit of a snooze. And then he went over and he said, if I had gone right that minute, it would have been worse because I was so tired. I wouldn't have been there for her in the way she needed me at that moment. So you do have to do the self-care and take care of yourself, because you'll be useless to somebody else if you're at that point where you can't be fully present. So that's another self-care point that I picked up years ago. I don't always remember it at the time, but
Yeah.
it's, we get our lives tell us things where we're thinking, how we're thinking,
Mhm.
and you know when we have to make those tough decisions, like I can't come right now, I can't do it right now, but I will, like you were saying, John Anthony.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you, I want to play the game with you, I want to play backgammon with you, but not right this minute, because I'm no
Mhm.
good for you right now. And they don't get that all the time. We don't get that all the time.
Right.
We see it as a refusing to do what I want, what I need.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was a good example for me, what y'all were saying, to remind me of that incident. And that was in 1970 something that I took yoga classes with this guy.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then we pull the card. If you really loved me, you would come now.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
right.
right.
Good morning, everybody. How are you?
Hi, Robin. Good to
Hi,
see you.
good to see you too. And we match. You got yellow on and so do I.
Uh-huh.
But I wanted to thank you for this morning, just what I needed. Reminder of taking care of myself as I'm taking care of everybody else.
Mm,
But more importantly, the one thing that you said that I thought was really, really interesting for me was the consciousness of self-care. You can do I can do self-care, but am I consciously really taking good care of myself?
mhm.
And so thank you for that, because that meant the world to me. I don't know why, but it did. So thank you.
Well,
AJR, Madeline, and
I
everybody
think
else.
somewhere you know why, but if you look for it, Robin.
Yeah, I will. I will.
What
Otherwise, you
came to
wouldn't have
me,
thought.
oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead, Pam.
Yeah. What came to me was what what is self-care really? I know what it is sometimes, but I know last week it came to me strongly because I don't think I was on. Was I on last Sunday? I can't even remember. That's how
Yeah, I
long
think
it's
so.
been. Okay, but I know I missed several meetings last week
Mm.
because I thought I was taking care of myself.
Uh,
And I forgot all about what was really important to me.
mm,
And that taught me a big lesson. It's like lately self-care has been for me a turning off, so I'll turn the TV on. I don't watch anything violent. I watch something silly or something like that.
mhm,
And for me, that was feeling like self-care because I was able to leave whatever responsibilities. I've done my responsibilities. I've taken care of everyone and everything, and now I just need to sit a moment. And so I turn the TV on. But when I'm doing that, last week I realized, no, this is not self-care. That's not the kind of care that is good for me.
mm,
Self-care for me at that point would have been maybe just sitting in meditation quietly, and kind of
mhm,
regrouping and clearing my focus, that type of thing. And
mhm.
so again, it's like distraction is not self-care. So that's what I actually that's what it comes down to. That I'm learning. Distraction is not self-care, because it's not helpful. It's not helpful. So I always, I appreciate your message. I am very clear that we have to take care of ourselves. Right now, I have a very dear friend who seems to be in a life and death struggle in the hospital. And her husband and I, are very good friends, and we have very, very close friends. And I've become the go-between,
Mm,
because he can't handle everyone's calling all the time and it's too much. So I try to be the go-between.
mhm.
And, I realize even in that, I have to take that time,
Yeah.
as you say, to get prayed up, to be filled up, to be filled up
Mhm.
in prayer, especially at this time. And I have a question because I don't, I guess what you call prayer treatments are different from, what I do. And so you're hearing all of these things in the hospital about what's wrong and what's this and what's that and what's that. In my spirit, I know that that person is with the source of their being.
Mhm.
They're not alone. I kind of see it as they're now in a deep conversation, with
Yep.
their source of being and determining what's going to lie ahead. Is it time to go? Is it time to stay? Have I done whatever it is? That's how I feel. And I'm fine with it. I've learned that I can't say that to other people
Huh.
because it's not appropriate for them. That's not their experience.
Yeah.
So, what do you say? Do you say nothing? Sometimes it's best to say nothing and just be an ear. but people
Right.
come in,
Mhm.
tell me what's going on. So I try to say it in a more clinical, this is what the doctors say, or so that I am not confirming it. We have to be in this reality and speak to people as in a way they can understand.
Yeah.
But is there a fine balance of how do you keep that? Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying
Yes.
anything, but you know what I'm trying to say, Thelma.
Right.
How do you speak to family and friends without, I don't like to preach. Every now and then I will, you know, filter in some uplifting or spiritual idea without making it like, oh, this is how you have to see it. But what do you say? What do you say
Well,
at times like that?
it's one of those things where I don't think you can plan ahead as to what you should say or shouldn't say.
Okay.
I think each one is different. And you have to really go with what you feel. Um, you can say what the doctors are saying, well, yeah, this is what the doctors say. But since we know there really is no death,
Hmm.
and that the person is safe, and if they're suffering, um, you can know that, okay, they're soon through with that. Um, but it so depends on who's asking and what their beliefs are. And because I went to a funeral for one of my uncles, and it was a Baptist funeral, and he was not a church going person. And it was like this minister was trying to save everybody's soul in there because this man didn't save his.
Hmm.
And that really turned me off. And it just really depends on what feels right for you, because you certainly don't want to turn somebody off or hurt them in any way. But
Yeah.
at the same time, you have to face facts. So if you know there's still a chance that they're going to pull through, then promote that. But if it's obvious that they're leaving, then face that too, and know
Well,
that
it's
they're
not
going to.
obvious. It's one of those 50-50.
Uh-huh.
you know, that's where it's not for her that I'm so concerned. It's her husband,
Uh-huh.
her son. And
Yeah.
because, one is angry and
Yeah.
the other is scientific,
Uh,
and I try to bring, well, I come in knowing the truth that
yeah.
I know.
Mhm.
And a lot of times to speak the truth, it's, I guess it's like you said, you just have to know,
Yeah. Mhm.
so, but I've realized through it too that I have to take the self-care,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and know that that's okay too,
Yes.
you know,
Mhm.
but,
Yeah.
well, thank you. I really do appreciate your talk. It always leads into something for the week. It always leads, so it's a great reminder that we have to take care of ourselves physically. There's so much you have to do with your body.
Yeah.
you know, from the minute you wake up, you've got to brush your teeth, you got to clean your face, you got to do this, you got to do that, and try not doing it for a day or
Right.
two. That doesn't work out so well. So it's really about I go time management and divine divine timing.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. and making time for the spirit. As you say, I used to go, what does that mean? How do you pray continuously? Until I understood that every thought is a prayer.
Right.
Mhm.
Every thought is a prayer. And so I'm praying continuously.
Yeah.
Now I have to just remember what I'm thinking about.
Right.
Yeah.
What are
Right.
you
And
praying for?
and what I'm praying for, yes. And
Yeah.
as you said, practice, practice, practice. I see tremendous changes
Yeah.
in my thoughts, and they make me smile.
Right.
When I'm like, oh wow, that's something I remember not being that way or not doing it that way. But asking for divine guidance, asking
Right.
for help really is the way to receive it. Like you said, you got to ask for it and then show up for it, you know? Or source doesn't force anything on us. So
Right.
there's nothing wrong with source.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm. Thank you, Thelma, and
Oh,
thank you. Thank you
thank you,
all.
Pam.
Thank you all. Thank you.
And Robin, I want to apologize to reacting to you about when you said I don't know. I was in group mode, because what I believe is that somewhere in me I do know, but sometimes I don't want to look for it yet because I'm not ready. Just like in Pam's situation, sometimes I just want to do that distraction because I'm not wanting to keep my nose to the grindstone of being mindful and aware of everything,
Yes,
all the
yes,
time. And
exactly.
and that's okay too, and it's but it comes down to acceptance, and
Mhm.
when you know you know I know Dwight was a big proponent of accepting, how that's so important, acceptance.
Hmm.
And that's what I was saying, when I'm accepting other people, I don't have any problems with them.
Right.
Yeah.
It's only when I'm not accepting them,
Yeah.
that's when I have a problem with them, you know, or if they're not
Amen.
accepting me.
Amen.
And then what I also just want to say, what you were saying, Pam, is that what I've learned is that every angry person is also a frightened person.
Yes. And I
And
was
and
able
when
to say that. So thank you
yeah,
very much. I,
yeah,
I
and when I
did say that. I love that.
yeah, and when I can get them to look at what are they afraid of losing or not getting and talk about that, then I'm helping them to heal
Right.
Hmm.
whatever it is, because as they see what it is, then they can give it understanding or acceptance or respect, and bring love into it from themselves to the situation, and it begins the healing process. But when they're just angry, I don't really know what they're fearful of losing or not getting, and they're not really in touch with what they're fearful of losing or not getting either. They're just expressing the anger.
Hmm.
So it's
And
what they're losing or not getting. I can remember
what
the losing, but
yeah,
losing or not getting. Okay.
yeah, yeah, and and then I I I've been working with this not in my work, but just as being a part of this group, that they want to hold on to their anger. They don't want to look deeper, they because there's power in anger. And I had this thought that I have a new roommate, and I come into the kitchen, and the stove is on high, and they're cooking pasta, and the water's just boiling over, and it's going all over the stove. And then especially if you have a glass stove, you know,
Mm.
boy, do I catch, what, if I do that in my house, but, and, and you go up and you say, aren't you going to do something? What do you mean, man? This is the way I cook pasta. You cook pasta, you got to boil the water, and it gets over everything. The pasta gets cooked. Leave me alone. Just let me cook my pasta the way I want to cook my pasta.
Wow.
And they say, well, do you know that there's a way that you can cook your pasta without having to create all of that mess? You know, but they've only known the one way. You put it on high, and then you let it go till it's cooked. And so you have to look at what's the temperature of the fire, or what's the degree of fear that I have. And when I can find the fear of
Mhm.
what I'm afraid of losing or not getting, and then what I need to do to turn the fear, alleviate it or heal it, with the love of in the form of the Are You a Cat, where I'm giving love to myself, then the water doesn't have to flow over and create a mess, and you can still cook the pasta. And but it's that requires mindfulness, and it's hard to be mindful all the time. But the more I am, the better I benefit. And when I'm not, well, that'll just remind me that I got to get back on track and be mindful, because I see the mess I just created.
Mm.
And now I got to clean it up because I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't being mindful. So,
Hey Pam, I wanted to thank you for what you said about the TV, because I do that too. And then I complained that I don't have any time to um, meditate. I don't have any time to practice yoga. I don't have any time to take a walk because I'm sitting in front of TV taking time because I'm in the self-care mode because I just, whatever I just did, you know? And
Yeah.
so that was a great reminder, the way you put that, that you thought you were doing self-care, which I did too. And now I realize, no, I wasn't. I could have been meditating for self-care or taken time to do something that I enjoyed as opposed to just taking
Yeah.
watching the TV and letting my mind just drift into somebody else's life or whatever the thing is I'm watching. So thanks, Pam. I like that.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. That night that I had watched TV, I was trying to limit myself, but then I get into bed and I went into meditation. I did go into meditation, and in the beginning of the meditation, it said, "You realize that you missed that meeting at 8 o'clock." And I thought, "Oh my God." And what? I had just turned on the TV 1 minute before the meeting.
Oh,
Totally I forgot about the whole thing. And and you know what it was, Thelma? It was one of the papers that I had found in Dwight's in the package you sent me
Uh-huh.
was so powerful. I shared it with one of the leaders of one of the groups,
Hmm.
and she wrote, "Oh, we're going to discuss that this day." And so, of course, that was very important to me.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
I had given it to her like a month before, and finally they were going to discuss it. And that is the meeting that I missed. So I was, I mean, in the middle of my meditation, when I realized, I was like, oh my God. Oh,
Mhm.
and it turned out though that it was one of the best meetings that they had.
Great.
oh,
And I thought, well, I wasn't there, but and I just thought that was insane. How
Wow.
did I miss it? But there you go. But I needed at that time, I just had to distract myself to sort of diffuse
Hmm.
everything else. It's like, okay, now I need to rest. It's my time. And I have to realize that all time is my time.
Right.
All time is my time. So
Uh-huh.
the help that I was giving someone else was the help I was giving myself as well.
Hmm.
You know,
Yep.
it was a beautiful thing. So I have to say, Dwight's message was greatly received and appreciated. And so I was so thankful that everyone said, what happened to you? Where were you?
Yeah.
It was a great meeting. We talked about it. And so that made me feel good.
Oh,
That was the good part. But
yeah.
yes, um, we get so much more done, and there's a lot of time in the day
Yeah.
when we yeah, use it in the highest possible way when we can, and
Hmm.
as John Anthony said, and accept that we didn't. Okay, so I didn't. Did I learn something? I certainly did. So it was all good, all good.
hey
Great.
Pam, it's Madeline again. But one thing to add to that is Dwight and Thelma always said to me, because I used to this little tidbit used to frustrate me sometimes. They go, "You're always in the right place at the right time."
Yes.
And I would like be so upset because of something that I did that I felt like, oh, if I was just, and he would say, you're always in the right place at the right time. So
Doing the
yeah,
right thing.
doing the right
Doing
thing.
the right
Yeah,
thing. Yes.
doing the
Right.
right thing.
Absolutely. Well, I felt better after I realized, oh, I wasn't there, so the meeting was ruined. No, I wasn't there, and the meeting went on, and life is good. Everything went on, and everybody, would you say, we all get what we need to get?
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So I got what I needed to get, and I put all of my programs on my calendar with alarms.
Right. That's great.
Good
Well,
morning, everyone.
hi, Shelley.
Hi. I just wanted to thank everyone for all the things that they share because it's so beneficial to hear other people sharing the things that you're thinking and feeling yourself. You see you're not alone and you're with people that are like-minded. And I enjoy every Sunday and being here with you all. Just getting over being sick. I think JR sent it to me from Virginia. But but I'm starting to feel better. Today's a better day. So everybody's gonna mend.
Good. Good.
Thank you all for all that you've shared. I enjoyed it.
Thank you for joining us, Shelley. We appreciate you.
It's those telepathic viruses are deadly, you know, how they
Yeah,
can travel.
right. Well, that goes to prove that the dis-ease is not contagious. It's the idea of it that is contagious.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Thelma, JR, and everyone who talked. I really learned from all of you and great reminders. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for being on, Lisa.
Thank you,
Love
Thelma.
you.
We love you too. Both of us love all of you.
Ditto, ditto, ditto.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything to add?
Don't think so.
Okay, well, thank you.